In this video, I'm going to teach you how to deal with imposter syndrome. If you don't deal with imposter syndrome, it means one of two things. You're either a narcissist or you're an actual imposter. People ask me all the time, when did you outgrow feeling like an imposter? My answer is, if you ever feel like you've outgrown the feeling of being an imposter, it means you stopped growing. At a certain point, you stopped advancing. Your vision has slowed down. You've become acclimated to an old version or an old level of performance, and you no longer know what it feels like to have a differential between who you should be and could be and who you are at this present moment. So let's define imposter syndrome for just a second. Imposter syndrome, my definition of imposter syndrome is the difference that you feel between who you are today and who you know that you should be, the best version of yourself. When I hired my first mentor in 2014. I hired my first mentor. I was starting my first business. One of the first things that I hired them to deal with was I had gone into a social group on Facebook, and I made a post in a Facebook group. I said, hey, I'm Taylor Welch. I can help you write copy. I haven't had many clients before, blah, 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 right? It was a traditional just pitch. And I went to work after I posted it and worked a couple of hours, came back, checked in on lunch, and there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments on this post, which is like, well, that's a good thing. But except the problem was it wasn't a good thing because these people were hating. It was like going viral in the worst possible way. They were like, man, you can't even write. How can I trust a copywriter who can't even write a good pitch? And they were like going off, and it was insane. And I felt crushed and defeated, like I was an imposter. But see, in hindsight, the thing that I was actually feeling was there was a difference between the vision that I had for myself and the current reality for myself. And in that differential, I felt like I was not up to task. I felt like I wasn't good enough to handle it. And this has showed up in my life again and again since then. You can look at everything that has happened over the past 6-7 years. And when I say that our companies have hit 100 million, I don't mean valuation. I mean last year we were like $92 million in sales, not valuation. In 7 years, we went from basically me feeling like a loser or trying to get clients in a Facebook group to $1 million months, a couple $1 million days, and hundreds of staff all over the country. And I've got to tell you that imposter syndrome never goes away. It's never going to go away. It's going to constantly remind you that there is another level. I'm not saying that you should be led by imposter syndrome. I'm not saying that you should serve it as your master. I'm simply saying this: if you think that you will outgrow the feeling that you could be better, then there is something wrong with you. Let me talk to you about 3 different types of imposter syndrome that I have noticed again and again. And this is not just from my life. I've had over 150,000 clients come through our different businesses and service businesses and investment companies. And I've noticed this is 3 distinct patterns in the imposter syndrome category. I want to tell you what they are. The first is relational imposter syndrome. There are times in a human being's life when they know that they should get around this person, or they like this person, they want to learn from this person, but they begin to have this feeling of relational imposter syndrome as if they are not good enough to participate. And you can tell that this sort of happens when you begin to kind of put all of these people on a pedestal. Like, we live in this world that idolizes other people as if they don't experience the same difficulties and setbacks that we do. And when you can hear this as a pattern in your own life, you begin to idolize and put people on pedestals and everything. You're likely dealing with a bit of relational imposter syndrome. You've got to recognize and reset, get back to neutral thinking. Remind yourself that you're likely no different than me and no different than them. And we are kind of all the same, battling through the same things. The second is professional imposter syndrome. The feeling that you are not talented enough, okay? The feeling that you're not talented enough, or you're not productive enough, or you're not this, that, or the other. And there's something that is preventing you from climbing the ladder. And I've noticed this in certain people's professional life where it's like they won't even try. They'll have ideas and they'll have different things that they want to work through and they want to implement, but they won't even try because they feel like if they try and fail, it will prove to them that little voice that says that they're not productive enough or creative enough or talented enough, then they'll validate that voice. The only way that you can battle with this imposter syndrome in this category is activity. I posted yesterday on Twitter, Taylor A. Welch, if you want to go follow me on Twitter. You can behave your way into feeling however you want to feel. You can behave your way into feeling however you want to feel. So many people are infatuated with getting to a feeling when actually behavior comes first. The third is personal imposter syndrome. How many of you know that when you wake up in the morning and you go to sleep at night, no matter what it is that you're doing or how big you've gotten or how successful or unsuccessful you've become, you're always going to have this feeling of, am I truly enough? Am I truly enough? If you take away the accolades and the success and the money and the houses and the cars, it's like, my first goal was to buy a secondary house and a third house. And then I look up, I've got 160 houses later, and it's like, I have still had to wrestle with this feeling of me personally not being good enough. If I was gonna escape imposter syndrome, at this point I would have already done it. If I was gonna put this thing to bed, at this point it would have already happened. But the reality is that it's a human being thing, and it is more than anything else an indication that there is a difference between your better future self and your current present reality. Here are 3 things that you can do to overcome imposter syndrome. The first is realize that it's always going to be the battle. It's always going to be the battle. Until you die, there's always going to be this battle. This little bit of a wrestle. Am I good enough to try this? Am I good enough to talk to this person? Should I actually get out of the box here? Don't think that you're going to outgrow it or put it to bed until you die. That's the first thing. The second, go ahead and behave your way into the feeling that you want. Do it before you can talk yourself out of it. Do it before you cannot do it. Book the ticket. Go to the event. Pay the mentor. Do it. You just got to sometimes learn to recognize that the decision and the behavior precedes the feeling and the confidence. The third is start at the end and treat everything along the way as an experiment. There's no reason for any of us to think that we're going to succeed at everything we touch and everything that we do. Everything along the way from here to there is just an experiment. That allows you to detox that perfectionistic syndrome. That'll help you. I hope this video has helped. If it has, subscribe, leave a comment. If you want more like this, just let me know. See you.